Hi, this is Charlene Burke with Grow Because You Know. That's www.growbecauseyouknow.com. Welcome to Morning Mindset Cafe, where we are gathering to discuss success through a positive mental attitude. Written by Napoleon Hill and W. Clement Stone in 1960. This happens to be a hard copy I have from 1969. It is a reworking, if you will, an addition to, an extension of Law of Success, which is the precursor to Think and Grow Rich and others. So we're talking about success principles. More specifically, today we are talking about attract, don't repel wealth. So to guide us, we'll take a look at what the book has to say, what Napoleon Hill and W. Clement Stone, very successful businessmen, have to say, based on their own successes, but also Napoleon Hill studied thousands. He studied thousands of successful people and formulated these common success principles that these people had put into place. So it's the beginning of chapter 12 for those who have the PDF, so you know where we are. We are told that whoever you are, doesn't matter what your age, your education, or your occupation, you can attract wealth. No matter who you are. Doesn't matter. Your age, your education, your occupation, you can attract wealth. That's a powerful statement. That really is. That statement alone, at one time, I would have balked at and said, yeah, but now the same thing applies that whoever you are, regardless of your age, your education, or your occupation, you can repel wealth. My negative mental attitude, I repelled wealth. How? Just by that statement of saying, you say I can attract wealth? Yeah, but. So what we're going to talk about today is attract, don't repel. Andrea, that's perfect. Yeah, universal laws are unbiased. And I think that's one of the keys, isn't it? It's universal laws we're talking about. Because when we're told through this book, and we believe, and I truly believe this today, is that it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what your background is. You can attract wealth. That's a universal statement. The only one bringing up excuses is me. For me. You for yourself. I'm not making excuses for you. I'm too busy making excuses for me. This is the chapter that's going to tell us how to make money. It is. So here comes the question. Would you like to be rich? And be truthful. See, you're not answering to me, are you? You're not answering to anybody in this room. You're not answering to anybody else. But the question really, truly is, and be truthful, do you want to be rich? Or are you afraid to be rich? Maybe you're sick. And because of this, you don't try to acquire wealth. If that's the case, we have the experience of Milo Jones, a story that we had read about way back in chapter 2. Maybe you're a patient in a hospital. Hey, guess what? George Stefik engaged in study, thinking, and planning while he was in the hospital. He made use of the time while he was in the hospital. Hi, Ann. Hi, Christian. Welcome. Good to see you. Time after time, as these two men, Napoleon Hill and W. Clement Stone have studied successful men. Now remember the times. Most of the people they studied were men. They discovered that those people dated their own success from the day they picked up a self-improvement book. Now, here is where it's really going to get important. Never undervalue a book. Never underestimate what you can learn from a book. Books are tools. They can provide inspiration that can launch you onto a new program and which can light the dark days that any such program entails. But also a book can provide you with a wealth of knowledge, right? All of that autobiography, or a biography of somebody who's failed. How about a biography of somebody who's failed 15 different times and going through each one? And think about that for a second. Just for a second. We have a biography of somebody who's a success in our eyes, who's done what it is that we want to do, who's attained the kind of money that we want, who has, on the outside, it looks like that's the life that I want. And we're able to read that biography and learn the mistakes they made, the lessons they learned along the way. How's that for a textbook? Never underestimate the value of a book. So in this case, again, we're talking about attracting, not repelling wealth, attracting wealth. How do you do that? So the story of George is that he was at the Heinz Veterans Hospital and he was convalescing. He was recovering, right? There he discovered by accident the value of thinking time. Thinking time. Time set aside to think. See, all right, so financially he's broke. He had a great deal of time on his hands. There wasn't much to do except read and think. So he read, Think and Grow Rich. And he was ready. He was ready for the lessons that were going to be taught to him through Think and Grow Rich. So an idea occurred to him. Many laundries in the area, they had you had laundromats, and then you had hand wash, if you will. It was done manually by groups of people. I don't know that they had dry cleaners at the time. Just to give you a sense of where he was at the time. This is what he knew to be true. Now you can imagine, you're lying in bed, in a hospital bed, kind of stuck. I mean, you're convalescing. That means there's not a whole lot of mobility there. You're struck with this idea. And you have the time to think the idea through. So this is what he did. He knew that laundries folded their newly ironed shirts over a piece of cardboard to keep the shirt stiff and free from wrinkles. Now, what am I imagining? I'm imagining shirts today laid out nicely in a department store, right? Not those that are hanging. But you know the shirts that are neatly pressed and they have the cardboard in the collar? Think about that. So he's thinking about that cardboard, and by writing a few letters, he learned that, what did he do? He sought more information. So he wrote a few letters, and he learned that these shirt boards cost the laundries about $4 per thousand. Now his idea was to sell the boards for $1 a thousand. However, each board would carry an advertisement, and the advertisers would, of course, pay for the space, and George would profit. He had an idea, and he tried to make it work. Now remember, he's sitting in a hospital, and he's gotten this idea, and he fleshed it out. Then he left the hospital, and he got into action. New in the advertising field, he had his problems, which is to be expected considering he didn't know advertising. But he finally developed a successful sales technique through which others term trial and error, and we term trial and success. George continued the custom he had started in the hospital to engage in study, thinking, and planning time each day. Even when his business was moving ahead, and it was moving swiftly, he decided to increase his sales by increasing the efficiency of his services. The shirt boards, when withdrawn, weren't retained by the laundry's customers. So he asked himself some questions. How can I get families to keep these boards with the advertisements on them? And the solution flashed into his mind. So what did he do? On one side of the shirt board, he had the print advertisement in black and white or in colors. On the other side, he added something new. He added an interesting game for the children, a delicious recipe for the wife, or a provocative crossword puzzle for the entire family. So George tells about one husband who complained that his laundry bill had gone up in a sudden, unaccountable way. And then he discovered that his wife was sending in shirts to the laundry, which ordinarily he could have worn another day, just to get George's recipes. Now, George didn't stop there because he was ambitious. He wanted to expand his business still further, so he asked himself questions. And he continued to ask himself, how? How can I do this? How can it be done? How can I grow my business? And he found his answer. So now this is what he did. One level, all based on taking time to think, have an idea, and flesh it out. So in this case, he gave the entire $1 per thousand he received from the laundries to the American Institute of Laundry. Now we have a full association here that he's putting himself in front of. The Institute recommended that each member help himself and his trade association, the Laundry Association and Institute, by using George's shirt boards exclusively. So now he's made another important discovery. The more you give of that which is good and desirable, the more you get. Now, a carefully planned thinking time session brought George Stefik considerable wealth. He discovered that a time apart is essential to any successful attraction of riches. And I'm going to conclude with this. It is in quiet time that our best ideas occur to us. Don't make the mistake of believing that a frantic kind of dashing around is going to be your most effective and efficient self. Don't assume that you're wasting time when you take time out for thought. Thought is the foundation upon which all else is built by man. There's a lot in that short stuff in there. And there's actually a lot more to the chapter. But I think we can start discussing, can't we? I mean, study, thinking, planning time. Is that bringing any thoughts to anybody here? Anything you want to jump in on? The first thing that caught my attention was when the writers of the book said that George, what we would have said, he was doing trial and error, and they call it trial and success. That's never struck me before. This isn't the first time we've been through this book, and this is the first time it actually struck me. Trial and success. A different way to look at it. Matter of fact, I'm writing it down. Trial and success. I think it might be really striking me this morning because I'm about to embark on a project I'm a little anxious about. It's new to me. So I'm going to be trying some different ways, right? I'm anticipating that the first time isn't going to work out the best. I'm not going to say it's going to fail. Good morning, Corey. How are you? Good to see you here.
Good morning.
Hi, Andrea. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am well. I am well. What do you think to this point?
There's so much in that story. While I was listening to you tell the story, I was thinking about popcorn during the recession. I don't know if you know the history.
Okay.
So,
okay, please share.
Um, and this is random. Why I like to watch how things are made or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But popcorn, when it was first invented, or when they first started to actually make popcorn, um, they had a few problems. There were a few. Yeah, How It's Made is an awesome show. They had a few
My favorite.
hiccups. So, first, their first problem was that, when they were taking it out into the streets, they couldn't actually pop it on the streets, right?
Mm-hmm.
So by the time they got out to sell the popcorn, it was soggy and not desirable. And so then they invented like a steam type machine to make the popcorn desirable so that when you actually go into the street, you can smell the popcorn. It wasn't soggy. It was perfect, right? So they're constantly solving that problem. And then they went into the aspect of having popcorn pop at home. But the problem was there was no sort of consistent heat across to make all the popcorn kernels in the bag pop. So someone invented like a metal plate. And in this process, we're constantly asking ourselves, how can I make this better? How can I take this one thing that's already great and solve a problem for people who are using it or want it? And then the recession came and no one was going to the movies and everybody loved popcorn by this time. So the advertising companies or the gurus decided, okay, if we sell popcorn for less, right, we would attract more customers or patrons for the theater. And now it's sort of that staple. You go to the movies to get popcorn and a soda or whatnot. So this history is solving a problem, and it starts with this tiny kernel, and we're just consistently trying to make it better. So that's what it reminded me of, the history of
Love that
popcorn.
story. It's perfect for this.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, so locally we have Pop Weavers, and they're located about 20 minutes west of me on the road actually that I live on. I can go 20 minutes west and, I start seeing the production facilities for Pop Weavers. And then you have Orville Redenbacher's, right? And then you have Movie Time. Microwave popcorn. With the advent of the microwave, suddenly we now have millionaires in popcorn.
Popcorn changed the game. Especially Orville Redenbacher, they didn't understand how could they make it more desirable, and just him speaking about this is my popcorn made it even that much more desirable. So I found that fascinating because the product already existed. It was already as great as it could be, but now we just needed to put a personality or a figure behind it to say, this is mine and mine is the best. And
how can we make it attractive? That's the key. I mean, we can put it right into the title of today's program. How can we attract wealth to us with the idea of I am in what makes me different?
Yeah.
What can I do to stand out so that those that I want to serve or sell to are attracted to me and will give me their money?
It's just solving the problem. Right. So it's just solving
the problem, right?
But it's so difficult because we're jaded in a sense. We want it to be the way we want it to be in some instances. Like this is our vision, and so we don't necessarily want to solve the actual existing problem. That I think it's
an excellent point. So are you saying then that I am so stuck or limiting, I guess is a way to put it, or so focused on the end goal of what I want it to look like that I can't see how it can solve problems along the way in order for me to attract wealth?
Yeah.
Or am I willing maybe so if I'm so focused on what the end looks like, I become unwilling to ask how I can get there because the answer doesn't fit what I think the end goal is.
Yeah, so it's like we talked about it yesterday about how Christian said we have to be open. Sometimes we don't see that when solving a problem this way will eventually or inevitably lead us to that end result. But we don't know because we just don't know. You don't know what you don't know, right?
Right.
And then another problem is that you said it at the end of the reading, was that the more you give of what is good and desirable, the more you get. So in that sense, if we're trying to solve a problem, but we neglect to ask what the people actually want that is desirable, then we can't get more because we're not giving what is currently desired.
Oh, there's a lot packed into that, because
Mm-hmm.
there's a whole movement based on give to get. You
Mm-hmm.
know, the Go Giver movement that came out of Business Networking International, BNI.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it was taught, which is you give referrals before you expect referrals. You know, the reciprocity that occurs, and it's a natural human psychology, which is when I freely give you something, eventually when I ask you for something in return, you're going to be more inclined to do it, because you're going to feel like that reciprocity kicks in. That's a basic human instinct. And I'm not going to call it an instinct. My apologies. It's basic human psychology,
Mm-hmm.
that I think we've totally screwed up on the internet, because so many people have said, well, I can get this for free with it. There's no feeling of obligation
Yeah.
in giving an email address in exchange for a download.
I
Unless, now I'm going to take us one step further because of what you said, which came out of the book, is the more you give of that which is good and desirable, the more you're going to get. And I think that is where the attraction comes in, where you are more attractive to those who want to buy your services or buy your product, is because you're giving what they want. You're solving their problem. So it goes back to you saying you have to be willing to ask the how. How does this solve somebody's problem? I have my end goal and of what I want my life to look like.
Mm-hmm.
You could care less about that.
What I care about is how is it solving my current dilemma. So, I mean, even in a pragmatic way, we look at like bloggers like Moz, or I will show you how to get rich by Ramit Sethi, or like different social media
Or
examiner.
Neil Patel and
Yep.
yep.
So just look at the way they create or craft content. Even Buffer, for example, if you want to know, if you're a marketer and you want to know when is the ideal time to tweet, they have a post that says the perfect formula for tweeting, right? And so immediately I'm searching for the internet, I'm searching Google, and I want to know how to tweet, and I find Buffer, and that's that gratification. As opposed to someone who's sort of writing their opinions on why you shouldn't use Twitter because it sucks and Engage is horrible, right? I mean, and it's fine. It's great that we have opinions, but if you want to, I guess, attract that wealth, you're going to have to put out information that is attractive, that's desirable. So,
which is, as you said, what problem does it solve?
yep.
So now we go back to the popcorn and what George did, thinking time.
Mm.
The importance of quiet thinking time. What do you think about that?
I think that is fantastic. I've actually been spending like the first few hours of my morning, and because I live on Guam and the beach is like 2 seconds away, I sit out there and I meditate and, reflect. And for some people, it's a little more ethereal. I listen to different chants and whatnot, but it gets me focused and it gives me time to be open. And what I notice about that process of thinking is that a lot of times it's like this flow of energy. So you're sort of given the answer when you have enough time to sit down and just be open to receiving it. It sounds so ethereal, and I know that because I'm very logical, but that quiet time, I think, frees the mind to not be confined by these ideas of it's supposed to be done this way. Those little boxes. I don't know.
Yeah, we're
What
going
do
to
you
bring
think?
Corey in. Oh, I'm all over that. I'm all over that. I'm a thinker.
Yeah.
I don't, and what I will do is I will take an idea and go to a quiet place and just
Mm-hmm.
relax and just let it kind of float about in my head and see what appears, because what I'm looking for is I'm looking for an answer. I have a problem. I'm asking that how. I've done that for years. I'm an engineer, so I'm always asking, how do we improve this? How do we make it better? How do we fix this? And so what's described here is beautiful to me.
Mm-hmm.
Good morning, Corey.
Hey, Corey.
Good morning. How are you?
I am well. It's good to see you.
Yes, always good to be with you. Always.
Thank you. So what do you think?
About
Thinking.
the meditate in the morning.
Well, about
About
thinking.
thinking. How do we
Yeah.
think about thinking?
Well, what we're talking
Well,
about is how to attract wealth. And the first thing we're
oh,
told here in this book is that to be basically, if I sum this up correctly, and Andrea, you tell me, is to be a problem solver.
Yep.
To be able to take time to think on purpose, to take study time, to ask the question of how can I improve the product or service that I'm offering. And by that, natural extension is you will sell more and you will make more money.
Yep.
okay.
I think
Oh,
it probably. Okay. Sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I think it's probably easily described as friction, and a lot of people have told me that to find friction. So that's it. Go ahead.
Okay.
Napoleon Hill, and you just did a long session on that just recently. You and Mr. Sewell talks about that, about success. Success has different measures according to how the person may feel or where their mindset is.
Right.
Because to me, when people ask me what, if I was doing a seminar yesterday talking about the thoughts of a successful man, and one of the guys said, "Well," I asked him, I said, "What do you think success is?" And he said, "Success is when he get his house, his car, his boat, and live on a bigger island." And I said, "Oh, that's success to you." I said, "Okay." He said, "Well, what is success to you?" I said, "Success to me is when I help someone else achieve success. Because to me, success is not so much about right around you being successful, but how many people you bring along with you on your journey to achieving success. To me, that's success. Because I, like you, I've learned so much from you and Steve Will. It's unbelievable the stuff I learned from you guys. So I've got a lot of success from starting my morning because of things that you have taught, things that you go over to reignite that process of success. Because most people don't really understand when it comes to that. Success is defined by finding a person. On the point, he says, find the person that has the success that you want, or whatever that is. He said, then duplicate their efforts, and you're guaranteed their success. Right. If you're a person that's around the average John, that success is not truly success. Success is truly success is having the time, the freedom, and the money at the same time. And I talk about these. I talk about these three sets of people. You got one person, and Charlene, I'd love to hear your feedback on that. One of them is a person that has all the time, but no money. He sit around the house. He can play PlayStation. He can go to the park. He can do anything he wants to do, but no money. Then you got this other person that got all the money in the world, but no time. That's like doctors, judges, lawyers, police officers, state patrols, nurses. My sister is the president of the Atlanta Memorial Hospital, the largest hospital in Atlanta. She runs over 2,000 doctors, making over $500,000-$600,000 a year, but you never see her. Making great money, big house, but you never see her. True success is a person that has the time and the money and the freedom combined. That's where I am.
Okay.
That's where Charlene is.
So if we take that and we put it into the idea of how can we attract that? Because this chapter is all about how to make money and how to make more money.
Right.
So with even if the goal is to make $6 million by the end of this year, and we have a dollar amount to it, we're being told here, which is right in line with what you just said, that we are more than just money makers. And in order to have that sense of fulfillment that comes with accomplishment, we must do some things. And in this case, we're talking about, we're setting aside time on purpose to problem solve, to ask the question of how can I make something better? So that puts me in a position when I am in that quiet zone thinking, and I loved what Andrea said about the free flow thought that just happens as she meditates in the mornings by the sea. That I am looking for an answer to improve a service that I offer or a product that I offer to somebody else. And while I know it's going to make me more money if I can make the improvement, instead if I'm put into a mode of being of service to somebody else, to solving a problem that they have, to improving the answer and the solution that I offer, that's even more fulfilling when it's successful. And when I can help more people along the way do the same thing, then I've just exponentially improved my attraction of wealth. And I've improved myself and grown my heart. And that goes right along with the story of George here, and how this can translate into those words is George is in the hospital, and he was struck with an idea that the cardboard used in laundries for shirts are unused advertising space. So he was going to sell advertising on these shirts, and then he made money. And then he thought, well, how can I do this better? Now, number one, who was he helping? He was helping the shirtboard manufacturer to sell more of those. He was helping somebody who purchased the advertising to have exposure in front of the laundry customers. So now he's taking two people with him. And then he came up with the idea of, you know what? People are throwing away these cardboard stiffs. They're throwing them away. How do I get them to keep them? Well, I'm selling the advertising on one side. How about on the other side, I put a game or a recipe or a crossword puzzle? And that way, because primarily the market was women, they're going to want to keep that piece of cardboard, which has the advertiser stuff on the other side. Then he thought, so how do I reach more? How do I make more money? Then he goes to the Association for Laundries and makes a deal. Basically, he says, I'm just going to donate this dollar that I make here. And in exchange, he got full exposure and exclusivity of all the members. Now what? All the members have an opportunity to advertise to get in front of their customers. The association benefits because they have somebody who is offering quality service and product, right? The name is good, the reputation, he's an influencer, and this is good for the association. Laundries are benefiting because they're getting more customers because of the way he's got this set up. He went from a single idea in a hospital bed to, as Andrea had said, continually asking, how can I improve? How can I make it better? How can I get more customers? How can I solve the problem? What problem am I solving? Heck, I don't know, but how can I make us better, right? And all along the way, he started picking up more and more people along his road of success.
So
Does that tie in with what you were thinking, Corey?
Yeah, because what you just said goes back to that book, that you were just about Think and Grow Rich. And Jim Rohn says that a lot. He said, finding a way to success is finding a way to serve the many.
Yes.
And by finding a way to serve the many will lead you to success. And that's where it's at. Finding a way. But success to me, that's a big letter. I mean, I can go in a lot of areas. Success to me, first of all, start with the person up here. Because how you think is who you are. The Bible says, such as a man thinketh, so is he. So if you're thinking, oh, I ain't going to never do this. Oh, this ain't for me. Well, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Oh, we tackled that at the beginning of this chapter.
See, there you go. See, I didn't know that.
Well, no, I just want to share with you. By the way, we're reading from Positive Mental Attitude, Success.
Oh, I got that
another
book.
Napoleon Hill book. At the beginning of the chapter, we're on chapter 12, which is titled Attract, Don't Repel Wealth. We're saying that whoever you are, this goes directly to the thinking, right? Whoever you are, regardless of your age, your education, or your occupation, you can attract wealth. And it all has to do with you thinking that you can. You can attract wealth. If you start there, you're on the road to attracting it.
You're on the way.
Because you can also repel it. And the way to repel it is to do as I did, which is you tell me I can attract wealth, and I'm going to say, yeah, but all right there, I'm going to repel it. Because I'm putting up the barrier, the obstacle that says, no, I can't. No, I can't. I'm going to come up with all the excuses. But instead, I can say, yes, I can attract that wealth, and that's the beginning. Andrea, did you have something you wanted to share?
Well, I mean, I noticed at the end the process, because I like processes. So you notice he was scaling, which I think is important because a lot of people ask the wrong questions when they're trying to get to that next level. So as he solved a problem, he solved it for the consumer and then the advertiser and then for the network as a whole. So I think it's important that when we're trying to solve or ask these questions, we have a very clear intention of what direction we want to go. So instead of scaling down, we're scaling up, I just noticed
I think too, by you saying that, it brought to mind that when we originally started, Andrea shared, sometimes we can get so focused on what we think success is going to look like that we don't ask any questions along the way, or we just say immediately, that doesn't fit, that doesn't fit, that doesn't fit, that, without giving any thought to it. When Andrea is saying to scale, what I was thinking was he didn't think initially of all these other people, right? He just had the idea of what the heck are we going to, what the heck? The people use these cards, these cardboard pieces. He wasn't even in advertising. This is the best part. He wasn't even in advertising, but he had the idea and he had time to think through. Thought, what else can we, well, look at there, I can sell advertising on it. So he investigated a little further and found out how much it would cost to purchase these, how much it would cost to have them printed with the advertising, knew how much to sell it for, trial and successes along the way, right? Learned along the way and became successful just doing that. But it was while that was happening that the scaling could then happen. And then he became open to, well, how can I make it better? Now, there are other ways to build a business where you intentionally set out that I will scale, and this is ultimately where I want to go. There are ways to do that. Lean startup formulas and processes will help you do that. So you can intentionally scale. The program that Sewell and I, our business partners on, 16 to Success, we're only in phase 1. We have 3 phases to it.
Wow.
But in phase 1, that's our entire focus right now. And the intention is always asking, how can we improve this? The students we have will be helping us to improve it, right? To improve the offering, to improve the communication, to improve what we're doing. So having said all that, the quiet time is where the brilliance can happen, isn't it?
I
Corey, I'm about ready to pop you out of the room. You know that. You know I don't like empty chairs.
Oh, the quiet time is difficult. I think the challenging thing about the quiet
Just in
time.
time. Came back just in time, my friend. I almost kicked you out. All right, go ahead.
So I think the challenging thing about quiet time is that there are two aspects or two facets. One, that as entrepreneurs or as self-made people, we're constantly on the go. So quiet time has to be very intentional. It has to be like breakfast. And then second, I think we have to remember that it's a point of self-reflection. So if we're not comfortable with ourselves, like asking ourselves the real honest, asking ourselves questions that are important, but then answering honestly, you know, like some people, for example, they want money, but in contrast, their internal self is saying, I don't feel like I would be a good person with money, you know?
Or I'm
So,
afraid.
or I'm afraid,
I've
like,
been talking with people actually
mhm,
recently who say, when I look at them, I say, all right, so you say you want to own a business.
mhm.
What would you do if you had $10,000 in your business account right now?
That's it. This is,
And the look,
yeah.
because they're afraid of it. Well,
Mhm,
I don't know what I would do.
mhm.
So if you're honest enough and can say, well, that's kind of frightening, then we have something to work with.
Yeah.
Only frightening because you don't know what to do with it, right? So
Mhm.
this is what it looks
Correct.
like. This is what it, what money is and how it flows and why it's a constant in and out, because that 10 grand isn't going to sit there and just
Mhm.
look pretty for the next year. It's not going to. It's not how it works, you know. So there are some who are afraid of money. So that honesty, you're spot on. I think Andrea is to say that in order to attract it, I have to understand where I am right now and be honest with myself.
Mhm. So I think that, like, usually when
Yes.
people ask themselves the questions, they're like, well, I want to make $1 million this year, right? And maybe they haven't started their business, right? So it's the beginning of
Mm-hmm.
the year in January. And you're saying, I want to make $1 million by the end in 2016, right? And when I first start to ask myself that question, when I say, okay, how am I going to make this million? I haven't even taken the first step. I haven't even said the pragmatic process. I haven't
Mm-hmm.
laid it out for myself. I haven't really discussed how am I going to
Well, you
get there,
haven't
which
asked.
is,
That's it. You haven't asked the right question, which is,
yeah,
how am I going to get there? How's that
yeah,
going to happen?
yeah. We
I mean, I
just
know
kind
what it
of,
looks like at the end, but how is it going? Though, and you had said it earlier. What
mm-hmm,
questions can we ask during that quiet time?
yeah.
What questions? I'm going to throw it out to you to hear what you have to say, and maybe Corey as well. So, if we set aside this quiet time, and the intention is to improve, or the intention is to seek out a new idea,
Mm-hmm.
what kind of questions can we ask ourselves just in the quiet time? Are we doing it on purpose? Right? It's quiet study time, so we've got however many hours, whatever that may be, shut away from the world. It's just me and God, me and the universe, whatever your belief is. It's just me and these thoughts. What kind of questions can we ask ourselves? Again, keeping in mind that we're looking for a new idea, we're looking to improve something, we're looking to make more money, we're looking to meet somebody in particular. There's a general thought out there to begin with of what it is we want to think toward. What kind of questions can we
The
ask
outcome.
ourselves? Yeah, an outcome. There you go.
So I don't know if I'm just going to say it because it just popped into my head. I don't know if you're familiar with the Akashic records. So it's the journey to the Akashic records. And a lot of times in meditation, the practice of actually going to retrieve records from the universal space, Akashic records, right? You walk and you set an intention that says, I want to If I don't have an idea or I don't have a specific need that I'm solving, you say cerebrally, I want whatever the world is willing to give me today. But if I want some insight on how I'm going to make money in that source of meditation, I'm asking myself, can you please direct me or give me a record of how I can make money or how I can solve a certain problem. Even if it's just one thing, sometimes that one thing becomes the catalyst to the next. So.
Okay. Any ideas, Corey?
Well, I would say if I was by which I do a lot, there'd be the first thing I think stuff be, especially if you're new, like she was used to scenario about the $1 million a year, your first year. That's tangible. That's going to cost a lot of sacrificing to get to that point. But you can get there. But the first thing I would do is find out where I am as far as my business, and where and how I can compete. Because if your business is a competitive business, you got to always keep innovating. And innovating. That's my phone ringing. Oh my God. That thing rings all the time.
Oh
my God.
All right.
My God. Please.
So, but now, Corey, I have to say at this point, you just said it. Constant innovation. Yeah. How are you going to innovate? And what this is telling us, the book, and what we're talking about, is innovation can happen in that purposeful, quiet time. So now,
correct.
Take that thought that I need to innovate. I need to do something different. I'm not sure what that is. Let's take some quiet time, 2 to 3 hours, just you're lonesome, just you. What kind of questions can you ask yourself in order to innovate? Does that make sense? Can you hear us? Okay. So if you're saying, I need to know where I am right now, I need to know where the business is.
Right. And then you got to first know where you're at to know where you're going.
Right. So I'm there.
So I would ask myself,
I know where I am.
Right. So once you know where you are, then where are you going? And then once you answer those two questions, then you ask yourself, what are you doing to get you there? And also, what are you not doing to get you there? And then finally, how to get better at what you're not doing to help you continue to do what you need to do to get to where you say you're going.
Those are great questions, again, aren't they?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Those are great questions because they spark different thoughts, and that's the whole idea of the thinking time.
Correct. And that's why it's so important, as you said about Think and Grow Rich, is you got to have that coach. That coach is so important. Because if you've never been successful, I don't care what you say. Donald Trump said something years ago that stuck with me. He said, man, if I lose all my money tomorrow, he said, I'll have it all back in a year's time.
Because he knows how to get it.
Why did he say that?
He knows how.
Bingo. But
because he's done it.
The question.
Now that he's done it, he knows how to do it.
Correct. And that's the problem. We have never made $1 million. So how are you going to get there?
Excellent point.
So that's why that coach is so important. That's why I say find the person, find that coach, qualify that coach. And if he has the results that you want, then do what he say, duplicate his efforts, and guess what happens to you? You're guaranteed his success. Mm-hmm. You're not the coach. You know what? I have coaches, and God has blessed us, definitely financially speaking. But I have coaches. Mm-hmm. Believe it or not, Charlene, you're a coach to me. C. Will is a coach to me. What's his name? Oh my God. Deontay comes on sometime. Great coach. Those guys are great. Those are leaders that are setting the example. And all we're going to do, we're just following the example. We don't know it all. We don't claim to know it all. We're always open because there's always room for improvement. So when you're sitting in the morning, it's very important that you be honest with yourself and make sure that these questions that I'm asking that you're able to be honest and keep your focus on that? Go ahead,
Well,
Shelley.
so what I'm thinking is here I've got this coach. I'm a member of a mastermind group, and I can take some of the ideas or notes, just the notes that I'll take during a session with my mentor or the mastermind group, and I can use that in my quiet time. Because now it's not just me constantly thinking on something or trying to rely on what I already know or hope to gain from just inspiration. But I can precede the quiet time with my notes and have that be like the initial thinking to guide, well, where can I take that? What does that really look like? Am I able really to, because those are the kind of questions I'm going to ask is, so I heard in this group that, a series of 8 emails after this particular type of session has really been effective. Well, I've never done that. So quiet time, this is how I would do it is, so what would that look like? What kind of conversation would I have or dialogue would I have in the email? Why would they respond to anything in that email? Well, it might be if, and that's where it comes in, if I use images, do I reference a video? Oh, wait a minute. I can solve another problem that was identified in that session, right? And when I say sessions like mastermind groups or a webinar or something like that, it was identified in their questions that were asked in the comment area. Now I can select a few, and that can be my series of emails. So boom, I can walk out of that quiet session. Now I've decided that 7 emails will now be written. Each one will be focused on answering a question that was brought up in the webinar, and each one will then say, if you found value in this, sign up for the next webinar in the series. And if you found real value in this, then sign up for the training course. That's what it can look like to me.
You said it. That's it.
Okay.
I completely agree, 100%.
Good stuff. So what do you guys in the chat think? Anybody want to, and if you can join in, you just have to say that I'd really like to jump in, and Andrea or Corey will finish up or what have you. So we have Cindy's been saying, I have to start making money somewhere, and there's a long way between where I am now and being in that situation of having too much and not knowing how to handle it. Now, here's the amazing thing, Cindy. And I'm going to share a quick story with you because it sounds so much like a gal that I'm an accountability partner I have. So during our Monday meeting, doing this thing, she needs this specific dollar amount and she wants it this week. All right, started out saying, I really need this specific dollar amount this week. How am I going to get that? So that's what we were doing, was brainstorming ways that she could get this money. And she's doing, oh God, there's no way I'm going to be able to do this. And I'm right, because when you're caught up and I'm trying to get her to think, wait a second, that doesn't exist. How are you going to do this? Mm-hmm. And so we came up with some general ideas. We came up with some general ideas. We were kind of suddenly forced into this brainstorming session, just the two of us. It was kind of tight. And we said, you know what? And actually, I think she said it. I'm just going to relax. And be open to maybe somebody else will come up with something, because between the two of us, we didn't come up with any brilliant anything. And the next day, she sends me a message on Facebook. And she says, I was about ready to just say, we just need to go on a cruise. She got in the mail, she got paid 3 times more the amount of money she needed this week. And what was she giving herself? She was giving herself 7 days. Is that a long enough time, Cindy? And she got it in 24 hours.
Wow.
Combination of, she had somebody who got caught up on, it was a receivable that was over 30 days due. Out of nowhere, they decided they had the money and they could pay it. Cash flow, boom, right there. Then she had somebody say, you know that idea you had during this meeting? I want to go with it.
Yeah.
All
Wow.
the seeds, and this is the way I've always said it before, and I think, please tell me if I'm off track. My thinking is this is right in line with how we attract wealth. She was planting the seeds.
Yeah.
I'm planting seeds all the time when I'm telling people about mastermind groups, when I'm telling people about consulting services I offer, when I'm telling people about new training programs, old training programs that are available, when I'm sharing how I see, think, and believe, you know, or what I think, feel, and believe, but how I see, think, and believe about things. I'm always planting seeds that I'm the person that you want to bring something to, that ultimately I'm the problem solver, I'm the data explainer, I'm the one that's going to make sure you get things done. I'm going to simplify the complicated for you. And all along the way, I've been doing it for almost 9 years now. This last month was my 8th year in business, celebrated last month.
Congratulations.
Has been planting seeds. So when I sit and do nothing for a short period of time, it's okay because those seeds are still coming in. I get sales from all sorts of different areas. But if I do nothing for a long period of time, and long can be a week.
Yeah.
All right? It can be a week. If I stop planting seeds, there's going to be nothing to grow. And also, if I do nothing, I'm attracting nothing.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm seeing her doing. And Cindy, I'm going to throw that out to you as something to maybe think on, is that you're in your own mind, you've got a date set of how far away that amount of money is. Why? And it could be I don't know if it is, but whether it's you or somebody else, it could be we're so focused, like Andrea had said earlier, so focused on that we're forgetting to plant the seeds along the way.
Perfect.
Or the seeds we're planting aren't worthy of growth, right? So
it reminds me of that act as if you have it, and you act as if you've already received it. So I think a lot of people, like as Cindy was saying, have that conversation daily. Like if I do this now, I'm not being immediately gratified, which is human psychology.
Yeah.
But the step you take today, 5 days later, 2 days later, they pay off, even in big or small ways. So the hard part is not getting stuck in the today, you know?
Yeah. It's understanding that what I do today, the seed planting I'm doing right now, really does impact what's going to happen next year. I have a big event I have a bigger than me project for 2017. I say it's bigger than me because it's pretty new in its planning session. But I'm not scared of it. I'm not scared of it. Yeah, there's no reason to be scared of it because I'm reaching out to other people. What I don't know, I know people who do.
Yeah.
And they're the ones I'm bringing in. And I've got appointments this week and next week, going to be talking to them about it. I floated the idea across the way on a couple of people that were I respect, and they're influencers. And they're like, yeah, that'd be really cool. All right. So I have the idea, right? I fleshed it out a little bit. All right, I fleshed it out a lot. I got a whole
notebook full of it.
Yeah. But now it's time to bring in other people and to start. It's not just planting seeds at this point. It is planting it. And let's plant it and then plant the seeds to create the buzz to make it a success. But again, if I tell myself, but there's a long way to go between here and here, and don't allow myself to say the road seems long, but right now I just want to know what I need to do to get there.
Yeah.
If I don't do that, then I'm going to repel. I'm going to repel the wealth. But instead, if I say, so there's a road that I need to take from here to here, what's the first thing I need to do to get there?
I think
That's
that
a
goes
whole
into,
different kind of feel, isn't it?
yeah, it goes into making excuses. Like we make excuses for ourselves a lot. I don't want to do video live streaming because I don't have the right hardware, or I don't have a microphone, or my background looks funny, or, and that inaction keeps us idle. So I think it has a lot to do with making excuses for ourselves. Excuses are a dangerous path,
So in our quiet time for thinking and study, excuses are left at the door.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if perchance they sneak in, they are kicked out.
Yeah.
So go in with that thinking, because that quiet time and that thinking and study time is to answer those questions of what can I improve? Where am I now? Where do I want this to go? What's the end goal? What does it look like here? All the questions that need answers for you to personally grow and grow your business.
Mm-hmm.
Sharon, it's very important that if I might point out, when you're thinking positive and being positive, and rather be yourself, also listen to tape, you got to be very careful, because in this world we have, I call them dream sappers.
Oh.
They sap your dream.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes you got to get away from the old in order to embrace the new.
Yeah.
Start surrounding yourself with people that you want to be like, that you want to think like. Yeah.
Correct.
So here's a quick example before I close down the recording portion. Is I've recommended this to people, and those who are ready for it, jump on it, and those who don't do that, I can't do that. They're not ready. So if you're a small business owner and you've only been in business for a handful of months, and you've got a client or two, or you've sold some product and you're making money, it's the beginning. So it's not nearly, there's nothing steady about it, right? But you're the owner. Put yourself into an online group. It used to be I'd send you to LinkedIn. Now I'm going to send you to BB or to Facebook. Join a group of executives and directors.
Yep.
Not of business owners. Those who are ready for it will understand there's an entirely different level of thinking with directors and executives. Now, some of them are in corporate. So be it. The thinking is what you want. The problem solving. Because I'm going to tell you right now that when you're in a group of business owners, you're still talking about the day-to-day workings of your business. When you're in a group of directors and executives, you're talking about leadership, personal improvement, leading others, vision, right? Totally different. And that's what I recommend to people. And when you're ready for it, it's pretty darn awesome to be surrounded by people like that. Because it's through that personal improvement that attracts other people, that attracts wealth, that helps you to grow your business. All right. So I want to thank you so much, Corey and Andrea, for joining me in the live stream. It's a pleasure having you here. Thank you to those in the chat area for participating in the discussion, and for those that have joined us this morning for Morning Mindset Cafe. Let's go. The Charlene Burke with Grow Because You Know. That's www.growbecauseyouknow.com. Let's move forward with the day on purpose, with purpose, to grow our hearts, grow our minds, grow our businesses. Until next time, have a great day.